Hey, what's up? It's your boy Hawk back with another video. Today we are running down the TV shows and movies I watched this year in 2020, starting in August all the way up until now. It is December 29th, 2020 as I'm recording this. I'm just going to be continuing what I did last time, which was part 1. I made a part 1 in August of everything I watched from late 2019 all the way up until August 2020, or up until July 2020 basically. And now we're going to continue that. I'm going to talk about the things I watched from August 2020 all the way up until late December 2020. So yes, the year is actually almost over. Okay, then December 2020. This is the second half of summer, August 2020 all the way up until mid to late September. Let's just get into this. The first show I watched was Community, and Community was a very interesting show. I remember when I was watching it, the first episode was really intriguing. You know, the first episode is always the most important episode because it's supposed to, get you excited for the show, and that's why the pilot should be probably the best episode of the first season, or one of the best episodes of the first season, maybe of the show, because it should hook you on the characters and the story. And that's what Community did for me. It took place in the community college, and actually, if you didn't know, I graduated high school not too long ago, June 2020, and it was a very interesting look on community college. It was very satirical, very funny. Overall, the main cast was great. Donald Glover, who will be later on this list with another show of his, funny character, Troy, Abed, Annie, Joel McHale, all these characters. Great show, just a great show. What's the old guy in the main cast? Chevy Chase. He's a really good character. Overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. The highest rating for the show would be like an 8 out of 10. Next thing I watched was The Last Dance. So I was actually watching Community first, and then like halfway through the second season, I started watching The Last Dance because I think it came on Netflix, or it was on Netflix, but I was waiting to see if I could finish Community first, and that actually extended the time I finished Community. Actually, I started Community late July. I didn't finish it until near mid-September. So The Last Dance is basically focuses on NBA legend, basketball legend, Michael Jordan. And it's a really interesting documentary on the life of Michael Jordan. It generally talks about the way he grew up, how he became the legend that he is in basketball and in sports in general, how he became such a big figure, some of the main players in that, the coach, Phil Jackson, Chicago Bulls. It even talks about the baseball part of his career where he played baseball, and he wasn't the best at baseball, but it definitely showed, that Michael Jordan can potentially go into other avenues, and why Michael Jordan decided to play baseball for the short time that he did. It's overall an 8 out of 10, the highest a 9 out of 10. It's a really interesting documentary. You don't even have to like basketball. You don't even have to be a basketball fan. Next thing, Jurassic Park. Now, Jurassic Park, I watched all 3 Jurassic Park movies. So Jurassic Park 1, 2, 3. But specifically in this section, we're talking about Jurassic Park 1. Jurassic Park, really classic movie. And just because it's a classic doesn't mean everything about it is great. The movie is obviously aged. That's the thing with watching older shows. Community came out in 2008, so it's obviously, or late 2000s, so it's not too old, obviously. Last Dance came out late 2019, early 2020, so but when you watch older movies, you gotta be, especially ones that you weren't alive to watch when it came out, you're gonna be a little more critical about it, but it's still a great movie. The main characters are very interesting. The whole premise of the movie is basically a bunch of dinosaurs become corrupt. Dinosaurs pretty much ravage the island that there was supposed to be a park in. The main characters of the movie were trying to create a park where kids and families can come visit dinosaurs. They recreated dinosaurs because they became extinct, obviously. But the problem was the dinosaurs and pretty much everything in between became violent, and you see that in the movie, and it's a very comedic and a very interesting scientific way of seeing how they would adapt to the modern world. I give it like an 8 out of 10, basically. 8 out of 10 movie. It's a classic. The last thing. Oh wait, I forgot to talk about Last World and the other movie, the third movie, Jurassic Park, which came directly afterwards the first movie, because the first movie was so commercially successful, the impact was there, so they decided why not. And the second and the third movie aren't as good as the first movie. I watched them. It was like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Like, they're not terrible movies, obviously, but they're not as good as the first movie. The whole dinosaurs going awry thing, I just don't think it matches up to the first movie. The second and the third movie are still enjoyable watches. Everything that I've listed in this section so far are enjoyable. They're still really interesting watches. If you really enjoyed the first movie, you should definitely watch these two and see what you think about it. Anyways, let's move on to fall. Alright, fall 2020, September, mid to late September. After I finished watching Community for the first time all the way through, I decided to watch more black-oriented sitcoms. Two specifically from the mid to late 90s, early 90s, whatever, it's the 1990s. One of them was Moesha, which is a sitcom around a teenage girl who goes through high school and the early parts of college all the way through the show. And the actor from Moesha is actually Brandy, who is still a R&B singer who was pretty big in the mid to late 90s. A pretty big superstar overall. And, in the show specifically, Brandy portrays Moesha, who is a teenage girl, like I said, who goes to high school and early college. And she lives in a middle-class family. Actually, in the beginning of the show, it is pretty much upper middle class. But as the show goes on, you kind of get to see some elements of lower middle class. But generally, the family is middle class. It's just the overall... It's kind of drama-filled, actually, in a way. A lot of things Moesha goes through kind of portrays high school drama, drama in early parts of college when you're a freshman, sophomore. They do tackle a lot of issues that you would probably see in shows like this in the 90s. Smoking, drugs, I don't know if I can say the word, intercourse. Basically, typical things in the 90s that, pretty much had to be addressed. Yeah, in that case, Moesha can seem a little, just like a lot of movies and, TV shows, they become outdated in some aspects. Obviously the references, there's actually a lot of references to hip-hop and R&B culture and just, black culture in general that were a little bit harder for me to understand, obviously, because I was born in the early 2000s, so I'm Gen Z, and it was just a little, jarring to see some of these references. Actually, Ray J is the cousin to Brandy. He appears on the show as a guest star as Ray J first, and then he becomes the cousin. But this show treats Ray J the superstar and Ray J the cousin different, so they're two different people in the show, but they're basically the same person in real life. So it's, this interesting dynamic in that way. Due to some low ratings, the show actually ended abruptly, so the finale of the show may seem a little jarring. That's all I'm gonna say. If they do have a way, they can make a reunion with all the surviving cast. But so that was the first thing I watched. That took me up until October. Then I watched Indiana Jones in between Moesha. The first Indiana Jones, I really enjoyed it, actually. If you want a rating of Moesha, I give it like a 7 out of 10, and this is based on me watching the top rated episodes of the first 3 to 4 seasons. Then after season 4, or I think around season 4, I just started watching every episode. So I think from season 4 onwards, just watch every episode. Season 1 to 3, I just kind of skipped episodes because they were just filler. You skip filler episodes because they're not necessary to the plot. They just kind of fill time. And clearly they were made and filmed just because they needed time, quality episodes. You know what it is. If you watch anime, you know what it is. Filler episodes. Overall, the show 7 out of 10. Next up, Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, very good movie. The first one, of course, is obviously a classic. 7 to 8 out of 10. I'm not going to spend too much time with this. Indiana Jones, you probably heard of Indiana Jones. It's overall just an interesting movie, so 8 out of 10 on the highest scale, but mostly 7 out of 10. The next show is, that was a movie, obviously. Indiana Jones, the first one. That was a movie. So I listed about 4 movies so far. The next one is a TV show. This is Sister Sister, which was a TV show back in the mid-90s. Wow, I was feeling a little nostalgic. Now it's because Netflix put these on their back catalog, honoring Black history and Black TV shows. But Sister Sister is a show about 2 twins, dealing with, the average teenage problems. You see them in middle school all the way up until college. So the show kind of goes, and there's always 6 seasons, so it kind of goes rapidly, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, all the way up until they're a sophomore, basically. And the show ends, so I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously, of any of these shows and any of these movies. But Sister Sister is a really good show, and it's a really good kid show, I should say, because this show specifically is TVG, which is no problem with it, obviously, but you can tell with some of the writing, it's obviously for kids. But even as somebody who is a freshman university student, I could tell that this is still a pretty good show to watch. Like Moesha, I skipped a lot of episodes of the first 3 seasons up until like halfway through the 4th season. Even some of the highest rated episodes were in that era. I just kind of skipped some of those and got to season 4. Actually, I got to the end of season 4. Then I started watching every episode up until the end of season 6, which was the last season and the last episode. And yeah, it's just a lighthearted show. No drama like Moesha. Forgot to mention, but Moesha, definitely a lot of drama in this show. Especially with the family. If you like a comedy drama with an appreciation for Black culture, but just a lot of, there's I don't know, some of the drama in that show was a little unnecessary. But enough of Moesha. Sister Sister was a really good show, so let's just move on. What do I give Sister Sister? A 6 out of 10 to 7 out of 10. Again, mainly because, it's a kid show. I'm not saying kid shows can't be good or classic. I'm gonna guess you could call Sister Sister like a classic. So let's just move on. Oh yeah, Sister Sister, Tamira and Tamara. Those are the lead actors in the show. Anyways, next show, Emily in Paris. I actually found this when I was watching Sister Sister. Like, I was thinking of things to watch after Sister and Sister, and Emily in Paris came up, and it was just a very interesting show. This stereotypical white girl from America, she has to go and work or she gets a job to work in Paris, but the problem is the agency she works at is primarily French, so pretty much only a couple people there actually speak English fluently, and then everyone else just speaks strictly French. She lives in Paris for about a year, so she has to kind of navigate the whole social differences. Overall, while this show wasn't terrible, the show wasn't a classic. Again, with shows like Sister and Sister, nostalgia is there. Same thing with Moesha. A lot of these kind of community relied on, comedic aspect. The whole community college thing is very relatable. But with Emily in Paris, I guess like a 6 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like, it's a 6 out of 10 on a good summer day, like on a good hot summer day. When it's not too hot, like 70 degrees. It's a 7 out of 10. Episode 8 and 9 were really good. Those are my favorite episodes. Those were probably the best episodes. And then maybe episode 2 of season 1. There's only 1 season out, by the way. Emily in Paris is still being developed, so we'll see. Maybe by the time the show is over completely, season 2, season 3, season 4, if that. I'm pretty sure there's a season 2 in the works. Let's move on to the last session. Wow, this was way too long. So this last section is fall into winter. There's only 2 things here, and they're all TV shows. The reason why I say fall into winter is because it's winter as of the recording this video, right? That's what I said, fall into winter. Only 2 shows in this section, so this should be pretty quick. One of them is Atlanta. Like I said, Donald Glover would be later on in this whole video. The whole premise of the show, Atlanta, is about pretty much the Atlanta hip-hop scene. And basically, he's the manager of this rapper, Paperboy. And it's still in development like Emily in Paris. So there's 1 more season coming out, I think, or I don't know how many seasons are going to come out. Season 3 is supposed to come out in 2021. So we'll see what happens in that season. The second season kind of left us off. there was only like 10 episodes in each season. 10 to 15 episodes. Basically stars this rapper, Paperboy. He's not a real rapper, and he kind of has to maneuver through Atlanta, learn how to deal, with being a super famous rapper. It's a really good show. I give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, so let's just move on from there into the last show, which is a pretty iconic show. Actually, one thing I want to note is that this last session started, all these shows I watched were on Hulu, with the exception of this last show, which will not be on Hulu anymore, but will be on Netflix starting next year in 4K apparently. Okay, so that is Seinfeld. This is obviously a very popular show. It's been watched by millions. It's pretty much one of the defining shows of the past 50 years. It's one of the biggest sitcoms of all time. In Seinfeld, just like last time I talked about watching Friends, I think it's basically a show about nothing. And yeah, that's really it. It's a show about nothing. But when you watch the show, you see that. There's actually a lot of something. You see character development over time. And really, if you kind of watch, like, say for example, you watch a rerun, and the episode that's playing specifically is like from season 5, and it's halfway through the show's run, right? Season 5. You can kind of get into it. But overall, there's a reason why the show is a classic, Even though I said the first season wasn't great, give it like 8 out of 10 overall. Overall, Seinfeld was a really good show. 8 out of 10 overall, like I said. So, let's get to the last section. What are some things I do plan on watching later? I do plan on finishing The Good Place. Probably going to rewatch the first season again in the first episode of season 2 and keep moving forward to the end. I think there's actually 52 episodes, 13 in each season. So 13 episodes per season, 4 seasons, 52 episodes in total. That's pretty good. Let's see, the first season and the first episode of season 2.
Based on what I watched, it's an 8 out of 10 on a really hot summer day. The highest would be like a 9 out of 10. Yeah.
What do I plan to watch? Maybe that new Disney movie from Pixar called Soul that came out on Christmas, and then maybe Bad Boys for Life, just because I watched Bad Boys 1, and Bad Boys 2 was hilarious, which means I have to get HBO Max, Disney Plus. I already did the free trial, so I don't know how that's gonna work. Yeah, that's just a lot of things. I don't know. That's it for today's video. So hopefully you enjoyed it. It's a little longer in recording size than I thought. I'm approaching 33 minutes at the end. So we're gonna end it off. If you enjoyed, leave a like. I shouldn't have to say this. Subscribe. Shouldn't have to say this. Comment down below if you watched the whole way through, or just skip, because this is the first video where I put specific timestamps. Specific timestamps where you can watch it here and there. Skip parts that you don't care about. Anyways, thanks for watching. Peace out. Have a nice day. Check out my social media. Peace out. Have a nice day. Goodbye.